Have you ever stopped to wonder if your body might be aging faster than it should? What if some of the changes you're noticing, the fatigue, the memory lapses, the stiffness in your joints, aren't just part of getting older, but actually signs that your body is wearing out too soon? The harsh reality is this: many people after 65 are unknowingly accelerating their own aging process, not because of genetics, but because of subtle habits, silent deficiencies, and overlooked signals that slowly steal years of vitality, one day at a time. By the time most realize it, it's too late. The damage is done. But there's a crucial truth they never told you. Aging doesn't have to mean decline. In fact, science has proven that your body is capable of rebuilding, renewing, and even reversing some of the damage, no matter your age. You just need to recognize the signs before it's too late and know exactly what to do about them. Today, I'm going to reveal the most overlooked warning signals that you might be aging faster than normal. These aren't just theories. They're patterns observed by researchers studying the oldest and healthiest populations on Earth. People who not only live longer, but live better, even in their 80s and 90s. And here's the part no one tells you. Most of these signs are silent. You won't see them in the mirror. Your doctor might not mention them. But once you know what to look for, you'll never see your daily habits the same way again. Stay with me until the end, because I'm not just going to show you the hidden signs. I'll show you how to reverse them, even if you're already past 65. This could be the moment you take control of your aging process, instead of letting it control you. Now, before we dive into the lives of two people who took very different paths after 65, tell me, are you ready to learn the truth about your own aging process? Comment number 1 if you're ready. Few things steal your independence faster than losing strength. What most people don't realize is that after the age of 65, muscle loss doesn't happen suddenly. It creeps in slowly, silently. It's called sarcopenia, and it's one of the most dangerous and underestimated signs that you're aging faster than normal. The process begins invisibly. Everyday tasks, lifting groceries, standing up from a chair, opening a stubborn jar, start feeling harder. At first, you blame fatigue or a bad night's sleep. But what's really happening is that your body is shedding muscle mass year after year, unless you fight back. William never knew he was in that fight. After retiring, his days became slower, filled with long hours sitting in front of the television, at the kitchen table, or waiting at the doctor's office. What little strength he once had began slipping away unnoticed. When he struggled to lift his toolbox one day, he simply put it down for good. Every small surrender shrank his world further. The result? William now fears falling. He moves cautiously, holding on to railings, avoiding stairs. His muscles, once his allies, have become his greatest weakness. Evelyn, on the other hand, faced the same risks, but the death of her sister made her see things differently. She didn't chase youth, but she knew she needed to protect what made her feel alive, her strength. So she began with something simple: walking. Not just a stroll, but deliberate, purposeful walks. Over time, she added light strength training, lifting small weights in her living room, practicing balance exercises. It wasn't easy at first, but something remarkable happened. She felt her energy return. Climbing stairs became easier. Carrying groceries became possible again. And science supports her journey. Studies confirm that even after 70, regular strength exercises can rebuild muscle mass and improve mobility. According to research from the American Journal of Geriatric Medicine, just 2 sessions of resistance training per week can reverse years of muscle loss, giving back not just strength, but independence. The truth is, muscle is not just about looking strong, it's about survival. It protects your bones, powers your heart, stabilizes your joints. Losing it is like losing the foundation of a house. If you've ever felt yourself getting weaker, know this: it's not too late. Like Evelyn, you can choose to fight back. Start small. Walk, lift, move, but start today. There's a moment most people over 65 know all too well: walking into a room and forgetting why you're there, or searching for a word that suddenly vanished from memory. These small lapses seem harmless at first, but what if they're not? What if they're the first, quiet signals that your brain is aging faster than it should? For William, these moments came more frequently with each passing year. At first, he laughed them off, calling it senior moments, but deep down, he felt the unease. Names slipped away, appointments forgotten. He stopped reading, saying his eyes were tired, but the truth was crueler. Following a plot or absorbing new information felt overwhelming. And so, William slowly withdrew from anything that challenged his mind. Crosswords gathered dust. Conversations became shorter. He avoided unfamiliar topics, embarrassed by how often he couldn't keep up. What he didn't realize was that his brain, like his muscles, needed constant exercise, and without it, it was shrinking. Evelyn faced the same risk. She watched as friends her age complained about forgetting things and losing focus. But Evelyn remembered something her sister's doctor once said: "The brain is like a muscle. The moment you stop using it, it begins to atrophy." Determined not to follow that path, Evelyn made a choice. She began every morning reading the newspaper, not just skimming headlines, but really reading. She joined a local book club where discussions forced her to think critically, to argue, to remember. On weekends, she took up journaling, forcing her mind to organize thoughts and recall memories. The result was undeniable. While William's world grew smaller and foggier, Evelyn stayed sharp. She caught details others missed, told stories from years past with clarity, and learned new skills like navigating a smartphone when most around her gave up. Science backs Evelyn's instinct. A study published in Neurology followed nearly 300 elderly adults for 8 years. Those who engaged regularly in reading, writing, and mentally stimulating activities showed a 32% slower rate of cognitive decline compared to those who didn't. Mental sharpness isn't luck. It's the result of daily choices. And the cost of ignoring those choices is steep, because once the mind starts slipping, everything else follows. But it's not too late. You can protect your memory, your focus, your ability to think, starting today. There's a cruel irony about aging. Just when your body needs sleep the most to repair itself, that sleep becomes harder to find. What many don't realize is that fragmented, shallow sleep is one of the most dangerous accelerators of aging. It weakens the immune system, clouds the mind, fuels inflammation, and slowly strips away your vitality. William never thought much about sleep. In his younger days, he could work double shifts and barely rest. But after 65, something changed. He started waking up several times a night. Trips to the bathroom, strange dreams, or simply lying awake staring at the ceiling. By morning, he felt exhausted, but he told himself it was normal, just part of growing old. He began dozing off during the day, missing parts of conversations, losing interest in reading or television. Yet every night, the same restless cycle repeated. The sleep he managed to get was light, broken, never enough to truly restore his body or mind. What William didn't know was that his lack of deep sleep was silently fueling every other problem he faced. Muscle loss, memory lapses, weight gain, and even his growing sense of depression. Evelyn, too, struggled with sleep after retirement. At first, it was the racing thoughts, worries about the future, the silence of an empty house. But instead of accepting those restless nights, she sought help. She learned that the body's natural sleep rhythm, the circadian clock, weakens with age, but it can be strengthened. Evelyn created rituals around her sleep. No screens after sunset. A short walk in the afternoon to soak up natural light. Herbal tea instead of late-night snacks. Gradually, her body relearned how to sleep, deeply and restoratively. And science is clear. Sleep isn't optional. A study from the University of California found that people over 65 who get less than 6 hours of quality sleep face a 30% higher risk of cognitive decline. Poor sleep disrupts hormones that control appetite and energy, creating a vicious cycle of fatigue, weight gain, and emotional instability. Evelyn feels the difference. She wakes up refreshed, ready for her walks, her books, her life. Meanwhile, William lives trapped in a permanent state of exhaustion. A man running on empty. If you've accepted bad sleep as inevitable, know this: it is not. Restful, healing sleep is possible. And it could be the key to reversing what feels like irreversible decline. Few things age the human body and mind faster than loneliness. It is invisible, silent, but it corrodes from within. Studies now confirm what many have felt in their bones. Isolation doesn't just feel bad, it's as damaging as smoking or obesity. For William, it began gradually. After retirement, the days grew quieter. Friends moved away or passed on. His children called less often, busy with lives of their own. William told himself he was fine, that he enjoyed the peace, the silence. But deep down, that silence was suffocating. Week after week, his world shrank. Trips to the store became rare. Invitations to gatherings stopped coming. The television became his closest companion. He started speaking less, thinking less, moving less. The isolation wasn't just emotional, it became physical. His posture slumped. His voice grew weaker. His heart, once steady, now raced with anxiety in crowded places. Evelyn saw this pattern happen to others and feared it more than wrinkles or gray hair. She knew that staying connected was not just about having someone to talk to. It was survival. After her sister's death, Evelyn forced herself out of the house. She joined a walking group, not because she loved small talk, but because she understood the power of proximity, of being seen, heard, needed. She volunteered at the local library, helped organize community events, even attended church gatherings she once found tedious. Something profound happened. Every new connection sparked life back into her days. Laughter became medicine. Shared stories became anchors. Her memory sharpened, her steps grew lighter, and her heart, both emotional and physical, beat stronger. Science leaves no doubt. A study published in PLOS Medicine revealed that socially isolated seniors face a 50% higher risk of early death compared to those with strong social ties. Loneliness triggers stress hormones that attack the immune system, increase inflammation, and accelerate cognitive decline. Today, William lives in a quiet home filled with fading photographs and silent rooms. Evelyn's days, in contrast, are filled with conversation, shared meals, and plans for tomorrow. If you've ever felt the cold shadow of loneliness creeping in, remember this: connection is not a luxury, it is a lifeline. One that can keep your heart, mind, and body young. There's a hidden fire that burns inside many aging bodies. A slow, relentless inflammation that damages joints, clouds the mind, weakens the heart, and shortens life itself. It's called chronic low-grade inflammation, and it is now known as one of the leading causes of accelerated aging. For William, this fire was invisible. He didn't feel it directly, not at first. What he did feel were the consequences. His knees ached every morning, his hands stiffened, his blood pressure crept higher, and a fog seemed to settle over his mind. Doctor after doctor prescribed pills, for cholesterol, for blood sugar, for arthritis, but no one ever told him the root cause might be what was on his plate every single day. His breakfast was a familiar ritual: white bread toast, margarine, processed ham, and sweet coffee. Lunch meant fried foods, while dinner often came from a can or a box. William believed he was eating like he always had, never realizing that his daily choices were fueling the very inflammation that aged him from the inside out. Evelyn, on the other hand, faced a turning point after watching her sister suffer from heart disease. She began reading, learning about foods that heal and those that harm. Slowly, she transformed her plate. Out went the processed meats, the excess sugar, the fried snacks. In came the colorful vegetables, fatty fish, olive oil, nuts, and berries. Foods known to fight inflammation. She didn't call it a diet. For Evelyn, it became a way of protecting her future. She noticed her joints ached less, her skin glowed, and even her mood lifted. Her doctor was surprised to see her blood markers improve year after year, while so many others, her age worsened. And science confirms it. Studies from Harvard link chronic inflammation to nearly every major disease of aging, from heart attacks to Alzheimer's. What's more, researchers found that people who follow anti-inflammatory diets rich in natural foods reduce their risk of death by up to 25%. The lesson is simple but profound. Every meal is a choice, to feed the fire or to extinguish it. William never saw the connection, and he paid the price with every pill, every painful step. Evelyn chose differently, and her body thanked her in silence, one healthy cell at a time. There is a silent trap that captures many people after 65. The belief that change is no longer possible. Over the years, habits harden like cement. Routines become rituals, and anything new feels foreign, even threatening. What few realize is that this resistance to change is, in itself, a powerful force that accelerates aging. William is the perfect example. Every morning his routine is the same. Coffee, the same breakfast, the same chair, the same television programs. He avoids anything unfamiliar, convinced that it's too late to change. When his doctor suggested light exercise, William scoffed. When his son tried to introduce him to new foods or new activities, he refused, insisting, "I've lived this way all my life." What William didn't understand was that this stubbornness, this refusal to adapt, wasn't protecting him. It was slowly shrinking his world, dulling his mind, weakening his body. Every time he said no to change, he was choosing decline over growth. Evelyn faced the same temptation. After losing her sister, the easy path would have been retreat, falling back into old patterns, seeking comfort in routine. But instead, she made a different choice. She dared to step into the unfamiliar. She signed up for a community gardening class, something she'd never done before. She learned how to cook new recipes rich in spices and flavors she once avoided. When her granddaughter showed her how to use video calls, Evelyn embraced it, discovering a new way to stay connected. And something remarkable happened. Each small change sparked a ripple effect. New neural pathways formed. Her confidence grew. The world, instead of shrinking, expanded. Science explains why. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, doesn't disappear with age. Studies from the University of California show that seniors who regularly challenge themselves with new experiences preserve cognitive function and emotional resilience far longer than those who don't. Evelyn's willingness to adapt became her secret weapon. It wasn't about chasing youth, but about staying alive, fully, deeply, vibrantly. William, trapped by his own habits, aged faster than he ever realized. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you did something for the first time? The answer might just reveal how fast or how slow you're truly aging. There is a weight heavier than age, disease, or even physical decline: the slow loss of purpose. When the reason to wake up each morning fades, the body follows. Purpose is not just philosophical, it is biological. It drives the mind, strengthens the heart, and gives every cell a reason to fight for another day. William never saw it coming. After retirement, the days blurred together. Without work, without a role to fill, he drifted. Holidays passed with less meaning. Conversations grew shorter, and hobbies once enjoyed gathered dust. He often sat in silence, staring out the window, wondering what was left for him in this world. The loss of purpose was invisible, but it was everywhere. In the slump of his shoulders, the hollow sound of his voice, the growing apathy in his eyes. Doctors could measure his blood pressure, his weight, his cholesterol, but none could measure the emptiness consuming him from the inside. Evelyn knew this danger well. After losing her sister, she felt that same void yawning before her. But instead of retreating, she sought a new reason to rise each morning. She found it not in grand ambitions, but in simple, meaningful acts. She started tending a community garden, where the earth between her fingers reminded her of life's cycles, of growth, of renewal. She volunteered twice a week at a local literacy center, teaching children to read. Their laughter, their triumphs, filled her with a quiet pride she hadn't felt in years. Slowly, Evelyn rediscovered what William had lost, a sense that she mattered, that her existence still had weight and meaning. And science has caught up to what the heart has always known. A landmark study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that older adults with a strong sense of purpose reduced their risk of death by up to 40%. Purpose triggers protective hormones, strengthens the immune system, and even preserves brain health. Today, Evelyn moves through her days with light in her eyes, plans in her calendar, and stories to tell. William, meanwhile, lives in a silent waiting room, waiting for visits, waiting for calls, waiting for the inevitable. If you've ever questioned what still gives your life meaning, know this: it is never too late to find a new purpose. Sometimes, the smallest reason is enough to spark the will to live fully again. The difference between aging and decaying is subtle, but it's there, written quietly in every choice, every habit, every day we wake up and decide who we're becoming. William and Evelyn started from the same place. Both entered their later years carrying the weight of a life fully lived. Joys, regrets, triumphs, losses. But, along the way, they each made a series of small, almost invisible choices. And those choices shaped everything. William surrendered to the idea that aging was a slow surrender, of strength, of mind, of purpose. He accepted fatigue, isolation, and decline as inevitable. What he didn't realize was that in doing so, he became his own jailer, building walls around his life until the world outside was simply too far away. Evelyn chose another path, not because she had better genes or more luck, but because she dared to ask a question most people avoid. What if it's not too late? She understood that growing old is certain, but how we grow old, that is still up to us. She fought for her muscles, not to look young, but to stay independent. She exercised her mind, not just to remember, but to keep dreaming. She protected her sleep, knowing it was her body's way of repairing what life tried to break. She reached out when loneliness knocked, choosing connection over comfort. She fed her body with care, extinguished the fires of inflammation, broke free from old patterns, and, most importantly, she found a new purpose that gave every day meaning. And that's the truth no one tells you. It's not too late to change the story of your aging. Not at 65, not at 75, not even at 85. Your body, your mind, your heart. They're listening to every choice you make, every habit you keep or break. Science has shown us that even in our later years, we are still writing the ending to our own story. So ask yourself, which ending are you choosing? The path of slow surrender, or the path of fighting for every good day you still have left? The beauty of it is, the decision is still yours. It starts with a single change. One walk, one book, one meal, one phone call, one purpose. Because in the end, it's not about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. Now, tell me, after everything you've heard today, what are you ready to change? Comment below, like this video, subscribe, and activate the notifications. Because this is just the beginning of what you need to know to protect your longevity.